especially late season. It's a car that has stood the test of time, and Leaf has the potential to be a winner.
Now to the Nissan Challenge, looking for the 8th national championship win. With 7 out of 8 wins last season, Glenn Hall and his team are ready.
Well, every year that we win the championship, which is great, but it gets tougher. The competition is fiercer than ever, and we're feeling the pressure. So we introduced some of our 2009 tweaks, you might like to say, for the last race last year. And I think Duncan went very well, so we're hoping to continue that type of performance through into 2009.
In 08, Hall and his team were utterly dominant when it really mattered. This year, they attempt to make it 9 titles with their 3-car team of 4-litre V6 Nissan Navaras and a new title sponsor.
For 2009, we are absolutely excited to introduce Donaldson Air Filtration Systems as our title sponsor. So basically, they've got naming rights for the team, and that will include our top 3 cars. And Donaldson are a great partner. They've been a technical and supply partner for us for the last 8 years since we first went to Dakar, and that technology has really helped us in terms of engine performance and the maintenance issues. So we are really excited about Donaldson coming on board. Sasol stays on board. Sasol, again, a great partner for us for the fuels, lubricants, and that's good news for us, especially in these times. The team for 2009 is the same as we had in 2008, which was a great success for us, with Duncan and Ralph together, Hannes and Jean Moore together, and of course Ivar and Quinn Evans returning from the Dakar. They're going to be together as well. And then we're going to introduce Leroy Poulter and Rob Howie into a Class E car for the first few races, so that'll be an interesting combination.
Tell us about the choice of Leroy Poulter. He's multi-talented and he's been triumphant on the track in kart racing.
Well, Leroy, I think, has got a great potential talent. Every discipline that he enters, he seems to excel at, and I think it'll be an interesting challenge for him. We wanted to keep him in the family, so that off-road is going to be tough for sure, but I think he'll come through.
Obviously, you want to win back the Manufacturers' Championship. Is that a target you want to work towards in 09?
Well, during these tougher economic times, the Manufacturers' Championship is not one of our targets for 2009. Of course, we'll see how it goes. We'll push as hard as we can. And we've got Terence Marsh running in a SP car as well, and that will help for sure our assault on the Manufacturers' Championship. But it's certainly not one of our top priorities. To win races, to win the championship, that's our #1 priority.
Glenn, how much do you think the other teams will have caught up to you? How competitive will it be out there this year?
Well, I think there's a lot of discussion around how competitive the championship's going to be in 2009. We've got a new turbo diesel car from Ford, which is an unknown. And of course, we've got much more stringent technical regulations on our cars with a smaller restrictor. So that's going to make life a lot more difficult for us in the event, because our performance throughout the race will be slower, there's no question. The power is down. So the cars are going to be driven a lot harder than before. So the drivers will have even more influence on the outcome of the result. So things are going to be tough out there. As I say, we've got Ford, unknown, we've got Toyota continuing their really strong performance from last year. So it is going to be tough.
For former national special vehicle champion Terence Marsh, there was just no other choice. It was Nissan or nothing.
It was quite clear there wasn't much other choice. You know, Nissan's track record speaks for itself. I think their Dakar performance of late further emphasises that. And that's really where I wanted to align us as a team, and we were fortunate enough to be able to put that deal together.
Terence, give us the lowdown on the region team for the year 2009.
We'll be running two-car team once again. The objective being that we'll run one in production, being myself and Peter, and the other being in the specials, where Michael will continue his challenge on the A-Class Championship in his Spec 4, and once again he'll be partnered with Matthew Carlson.
Coetzee Labuschagne and Johan Gerber will again turn out in Class D. In fact, they're one of only 2 Nissan entries in the category, so they'll need to be very solid yet again.
In the other giant Japanese manufacturer stable, the Toyota Camp, there's a settled look and feel. They have their tried and trusted teams and also have some very big dreams for the green, red and white mark.
We plan to win the championship this year. That's maybe a mouthful, but we're going to try our best to get in front of the Nissans this year. That's our stated objective.
This season, they've had the financial pressure off.
This year was different to previous years. Previous, we always had to build two new buckies for the start of the season. With the well-known budget constraints for this year, no new buckies. So we stripped them to bits and pieces, checked everything, went through it perfectly as best as we can, incorporated some of the improvements we wanted to do for the new year, and put them back together, ready to race.
But Whammy, you have to admit the SP class will be tight.
SP this year is going to be a little bit of a problem, I think, with the small restrictors. These engines are really going to battle. It's going to be like drinking a double thick milkshake through a little straw. The 32mm restrictors are small, and the specials don't have the same small restrictors that we have. So I think we're going to probably run in the middle of the field, and that's going to add complications with dust. Not going to be able to pass. Visibility is going to be restricted. But we'll have to see. First event will tell us what's going to happen.
In 2008, Mark Grenier and his trusty navigator Chris Birkin were a thorn in the flesh of Nissan and produced some very consistent driving. They clinched one win and were in with a championship shot virtually right to the end of the campaign. Anthony Taylor made his debut for the Castrol Toyota team next to Robin Houghton. Are there changes to the lineup this year? Please tell us, Whammy.
Driver lineup is the same as last year. We're trying to get some experience in the lineup now. So we have Mark with Chris Birkin, and we have Anthony Taylor with Robin Houghton to run this year. Then we have all the privateers that we had last year, we hope. Budgets are very constrained this year, so we're not able to assist them as we did before, but I think everybody will be there.
Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst in the Team Barberspun Castrol Toyota Hilux is one of the privateers that did their bit last year and will certainly be a feature of this year's championship series.
And ditto for father and son Hicho and Jaap de Bruin in their multicolored Micron XL dealer team Toyota. They were one of the stalwarts of the manufacturer's win and will be there again, no doubt.
Jaco Swanepoel and his sidekick Keith Solomon in the IDM Cement entry learnt a lot last year in their first SP season and should be able to come to the party for Toyota.
With husband and wife team George and Sharon Balkhuizen again flying the flag for married couples everywhere after a season in which they upped their game significantly.
The Toyota's privateers list is as long as the day is, and in the RFS team of Chris de Plooy and Ewald van Rensburg, the Mark has another squad that is consistent and trustworthy out there.
And then one could also throw the Imperial Feltex entry of Mike Thompson and Brian Haviland into the equation.
Like some politicians, Gary Berthold has crossed the floor from specials to the production cars.
As is the case with young Christian de Plooy, who defects from Class D to the SP category.
There's a heck of a lot of racing to be done. In 08, Nissan won 7 out of 8 production car races too, and the other manufacturers are all more than ready to topple them from their perch.
In 09, Kutsiela Beskagni and Johan Gerber set the pace in Class D more often than not, while the other Class D contenders weren't letting go without a big fight. It will be the same thing in 2009.
Young Louis Weigel did duty only twice with Duncan Foss and won over 1,000 Ks in the Botswana desert. He and his dad Cliff will be a formidable combination.
In Class E, all the big-name manufacturers are in with a shot, with the defending champions Yanni Fisser and Joks Leroux ready to produce an almighty defense of their hard-won title. They're consistent and have bucket loads full of experience. And as you know, these two attributes are essential for success over the hills and dales and dirt roads of Southern Africa.
But they'll not have it all their own way in Class E. Ramon and Marek Besaidnout move to this class and will certainly make it a ding-dong battle. While the other Toyotas, notably Diedrich and Dani Hutting in their Transcore Hilux and the 4x4 Mega World entry of Dion Venter with Ian Palmer, will be chasing for all they worth.
Toyota are not just the defending manufacturers' trophy champions, but they're also the proud sponsors of the Toyota 1000 Desert Race in Botswana, as well as the Toyota Dealer 400 in Mpumalanga. These are flagship events for Whammy Hutton.
The biggest one is the Toyota Desert Race, the 1,000 kilometer 2-day event, which is assisted by Motor Centre in Gaborone quite ably. So we hope that will be a big event this year. And then we have the Lydenburg 400, which is in Lydenburg, and that is ably assisted by the Erasmus family from Lydenburg Toyota.
Vehicle and asset finance from Absa, overcoming all obstacles.
Get the best seats in the house this weekend. A formidable Shark side look to leave Perth with a valuable away win in the Vodacom.
Finance from ABSA, going the extra mile to get you financed.
To the special vehicle category of the ABSA Off-Road Championship, and Motorite will again be challenging for the championship after a rather disappointing 2008 season, which started with the national champ Evan Hutchinson's car burning to cinders in the very first race of the season in Darling in the Western Cape. And their season just did not improve. The diminutive team manager has big plans for the silver and black outfit, and they're also having a go in the four-wheel drive Class A sector.
The former champion is a very determined character at the best of times, and he'll want the team to perform.
Yeah, well, first of all, we are fortunate enough to have the full support from Motorite again for the 2009 season. And after our last season, we decided to make some changes. I believe we got to the end of the development stages we could get with a two-wheel drive car. And Mark Corbett built a four-wheel drive car last year, and we thought that might be the new direction to pursue. So some discussions with our technical manager, Achim Bergman, we came up with a plan to build a four-wheel drive car for Class A for this year. Which we've done. We've pretty much finished. It'll be done in about a day or two. We've done a little bit of testing. It all seems positive. In theory, it's all going to work. We just got to put it all into practice.
How will you utilize all those horses with the new 4x4 system, and what are your thoughts on the restrictions?
We decided obviously to go for four-wheel drive. So we had all the horsepower in the world in our two-wheel drive cars. We just couldn't use it. So we decided to try and harness that horsepower a little bit better and try and get the power to the ground. Therefore, we've used a four-wheel drive system. So we're still using the Chev V8 motor, but just a much smaller one with a lot less power. We've also got some restrictions on us with the four-wheel drive. So we've got a smaller restrictor, which will also limit the horsepower. And then the drivetrain is the same drivetrain they've been running in the SPs, which is tried and tested. A lot of the stuff is locally produced. A whole lot more of this car is being produced locally, so meant to make it a little bit more affordable. And in the running of the year, the cost of running it for the year will be a lot more affordable. So basic four-wheel drive with the same drivetrain as the SPs, with a slightly different engine. And that's pretty much it. You know, weight distribution is slightly different because we don't have to fall into the regulations of the bakkie. But we have been limited on our wheel travel and weight and some other aspects. Yeah.
Of course, these regulations stand for all the competitors in the class, but there are several new amazing innovations that come along and astound every year. The new 4x4 development and its success depends on the Motorite results and, of course, the pioneer in this regard. However, with the Century Property Development driver Mark Corbett, 2008 is a season best forgotten. The brand new car, the CR1, never lived up to its pre-season billing, and he and his co-driver Rudy Balzar never got it to the line in one piece. They aim to right that this year, but keep in mind that the new changes take a time to sort out, some longer than others.
Colin Matthews and Alan Smith flew the flag for Century High and, well, all season long. And but for Lady Luck turning her fickle back on them once or twice, they may have already downed a pint in celebration of a victory or two.
In other teams, there are one or two changes due to the defections. Gary Gillingham lines up for the turquoise and white branded Atlas Copco team, and his experience will be invaluable to them.
The father and son combination of Nick and Ryan Harper has stayed put, and they'll be looking to get back their winning ways. Watch them this year for the overall title.
Nick is a serious fitness fanatic, and with son Ryan in there, who's a motorbike racer, they know how to read the terrain and get the most out of it. As for Shamir Varayawa and his navigator Siegfried Rousseau, there's the challenge of maintaining the standard they set last year when they were oh so close, and yet so far. However, their win over 1,000 Ks in the Botswana Desert Race provided a load of confidence, and they'll still be feeding off that.
For Michael Whitehouse and his co-driver Matthew Carson, it was also a season in which the winning door could so easily have opened, but it slammed shut at just the wrong time. This time, they would want to drive through.
The brothers White, that's Gary and David, will again fly the Rubicon flag in Class P, where they will be hard to beat.
Last season was a coming of age for them, and their partnership is surely set to blossom this year.
Nardis Alberts is another man with loads of experience, and the Red Rapsa band also knows its way to a win when it has to.
Reigning champion Karl-Heinz and Quinton Sulwald will be looking for back-to-back titles in their Sulwald Racing bat, and don't put it past them for a second. The other Sulwald Racing entry will see Herman Sulwald teaming up with his son Wichard, thus making it a real family affair for the Palabora squad.
And then there's the talented Atang Makakhanene, and he gets a chance with Jeff Minute in their Porter. They'll be a handful once they get car settings right and they get used to each other in the cockpit.
Both driver and Nav know that the 2009 season will be a watershed one in which they'll have to produce the goods.
And in Class P, the return to racing of one of the stalwarts, John Weir Smith, is also being awaited with anticipation. He should be good value for money.
The Sulwalds, that's Collie and Quinton, had been ultra steady last year with one win at the start of the season in the Eastern Cape over 400 Ks, and then a line finish in every one of the 8 races in 08. You can bet your bottom dollar they'll be good for the same this time round.
And then don't forget Herman and his son Wichard, who will be desperate to challenge for the Class A title themselves at the end of the 8-race season, ending in the Magaliesberg.
The Atlas Copco team will be spearheaded by Nick and Ryan Harper in a Spec 4 bat. They have the makings of a championship-winning outfit, and they've been close before. They team up with Gary Gillingham and Dani Stassen, who'll be out in their previous bat.
The Berthold Vermeulen Porter stays in the Atlas Copco fold, and the car's been taken over by newcomers Jimmy Zahos and Stefan Kutsia, who are unknown entities at this stage, but this team has been known to spring a few surprises before already.
With Terence Marsh and Pieter Groenewald stepping out of the special vehicle class and into the productions, the Regent Racing Challenge is in the hands of Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson. This pairing has delivered 1 or 2 very impressive displays last season and could be serious 2009 championship challengers.
And if Lady Luck smiles upon them, Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau should again be amongst the title challengers in the Big Total Porter. They tasted victory twice last year and only missed out on the overall battle on the RFS Magalies 400, the last race of the season after mechanical trouble.
Former national champion Evan Hutchison is again in car with the highly experienced Achim Bergman in their all-new Motorite Bat 4x4. After last season, they'll be in a mean mood and ready to right the wrongs of 08.
While Mark Corbett and Balzar in their revolutionary Century Racing CR1 too will be hoping for better results this year. Both crews will be out in locally developed 4-wheel drive cars, with a black and silver Motorite Special making its debut in the Western Cape.
Corbett and Balzar never finished a race last season, but their car showed plenty of potential and they'll be hoping for a lot more reliability this time out.
Colin Matthews and Alan Smith will also be out in the Century Racing Bat and will be looking to finally crack an elusive win.
Former champion Ateng Makakhanene and Jeff Minute in their all-white Porter will also be hoping for improved reliability this season, and their combination could just spark a winning spree.
While John Moore and his navigator Tom Claassen in the smart-looking Free Spirit also came up with a couple of impressive performances last season. They built up loads of valuable experience. Look for them to come through.
Veteran Nardus Alberts returns with Adri Roots calling the race notes for him. They're in the big red and impressive-sounding Rapsabat. Surely they're bound to see the checkered flag first this year.
Naim Musaji will again be out and about in the canary yellow tyre rack Porter. He's consistent and could get the job done.
On the Class B front, Bez Besaidnote in his blue and silver Denko bat will be hoping history repeats itself. He won last year and at home in the Western Cape, as well as being partnered by son Dion. This year will fancy his chances of a repeat result.
With the reigning Class B champ Loaderbrain having moved to the production car category, this opens up the championship. Derek de Toy together with Ian Pinar in their Orange Tree development bat are also in with a shot.
While John Telford and Crisco Fulskenk in the smart-looking red and black calcimite bat will fancy their chances too. And don't forget about Katlego Makinete paired with Victor Ncheke in their Zarko.
Simon Beckett and Steve Harris in the Century Racing bat could also be consistent front-runners in a class that this season is without former champion Jan Kraai and co-drivers champ Tito Vogt.
Another former Class B champion, Ernest Corbett, and Warwick Goosen, also in a Century Racing CR2, are back in action after a lengthy layoff and will turn out in Class P. This pair find themselves smack in the middle of a class that's going to be ultra competitive this season.
The reigning champions in Class B are Johan and Etienne Besaidnout, and they'll be back in their Adenko bat. But this category also has some serious contenders.
The siblings, David and Gary White, in their very reliable Ruacon bat, tasted victory in 08, and we think they've grown rather fond of the lingering aftertaste on the palate, wanting more.
And then there's the talented and intense KwaZulu-Natal star Don Thompson in his Zarko. He surprised a lot of people last year and would want to do it all again in 09.
And if you're looking for experience, former champions Richard Schilling and Chris Davies team up in the Aceco RS. In the previous season, they were just not consistent and will be hoping for more of it this time around.
The long-awaited return to the off-road racing scene by John Weir-Smith and Richard Carolyn could also throw the proverbial cat amongst the Class P pigeons. Bodo Bertolt, another veteran racer and father of Gary, will also be out in Class P in a new Atlas Copco car. Bertolt will again be partnered by Philip Hurselman.
The opening round of the 2009 season is hosted by the idyllic little town of Darling in the Western Cape. And this year, the race is being sponsored by Adenko Construction, a company started 16 years ago.
The group, which now incorporates several offices countrywide, specialize in both overhead and underground reticulation projects. For the layman, this means streetlight installation, commissioning and maintenance of sports field lighting and high mast maintenance in the wider Western Cape and further afield.
The off-road racing scene runs deep in the blood of the Besaidnout. And this year, all four, dad and three sons, will be donning helmets in pursuit of national championships in the ABSA series.
Not that they haven't done that very well already. Some of the projects that Adenko have recently completed includes the Ernie Els layout, the Obai Golf Estate, the Oeverback infrastructure upgrade, and then the Hermanus Central Business District upgrade too. The company has grown in such leaps and bounds that by now they even boast a partnership with a leading company in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania.
For Bez Besaidnout, his boys and their racing have provided him with great pleasure. From there, his sponsorship came for the Western Cape event.
Well, Johan and Etienne entered the championship last year with a new Class B car, which was newly built. It took a race or two to sort it out, and from there on they went well. In fact, they managed to clinch the championship title. And I'm glad to say that they are just as passionate about racing, I think, as which I am.
For the Besaidnout, it's not only the competitive spirit of the off-road racing, but for them, it's also an ideal way to spend quality time together as a family, working at something they're truly passionate about.
Well, off-road racing is a hobby of ours, and apart from the competitive element of the sport out there, it really serves to bring us as a family together and provide us with prime time.
Bez has decided not to get involved in the route design in the Cape.
Adenko has not been involved with the route, but the club, CPMCC, which manages the event, has had a tremendous support from the Darling and the Momray Farmers Association and landowners. They've set a course which we believe is a true test to the competitors, but it also offers spectator value in various points. We've met with the Darling Club, which is the host venue for documentation and scrutineering, the start, the finish, the DSP, but the area all in one, in order to ensure that there will be ample facilities, food and beverages. We believe that this event really put something back in the Darling community and that they will benefit from this. Well, we are proud of being associated with the ABSA Off-Road Championship and trust that the event to be held in Darling, which is the first leg, will be a great success.
But the Besaidnouts also have some personal designs on bringing some championship trophies home and have put in the long hours.
Well, a lot of work has gone into the cars in the off-season. And frankly, I can't see why we can't win both classes.
But cars are a passion for the family. And not just off-road vehicles. Street rods are a hobby for the Besaidnouts. And they'll be showing off their other love in Darling.
Well, besides our involvement in off-road racing, we have another interest being the street trots. It's a family affair. We are involved with the Cape Street Trot Club. And for the Darling event, we wish to take these vehicles to Darling for display, for the other participants to enjoy, for the public to enjoy, because these vehicles are really the pride and the joy of their owners.
So here's just a small foretaste of what you will see on display in the quaint little town of Darling in the Western Cape. The street trots will no doubt be a highlight in the build-up to the pipe opener of the 8-race-long 2009 ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar, which practically crosses the length and breadth of Southern Africa in pursuit of identifying the country's top off-road racers.
The racing stretches from the Western Cape to Jeffreys Bay on the eastern seaboard, to the sugarcane of KwaZulu-Natal, Botswana's Kalahari Desert, to the glitz of Sun City, the Limpopo province, to Middelburg, and finally the Magaliesberg, over almost 4,000 kilometers.
There's a huge amount of racing to be done, and the racing in the Western Cape and the prologue to settle the starting positions gets underway on